Welcome to the Child Free Wealth Podcast, hosted by Bree and Dr. J, Certified Financial Planner. Here we discuss life and finances as it relates to being child-free. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please consult your advisor before implementing any ideas heard on this podcast.
How are you two doing?
We're doing pretty good. How about you?
Good. You know, it's interesting. Your episodes have kind of become a fan favorite. I mean, I swear they think you were like, I don't know, like you were looking at your crystal ball and got out of the U.S. just before the craziness. But
oh, yeah, maybe, yeah.
We have had lots of people ask that. We're like, we were planning it way before.
You were. So how's it going? I mean, are you enjoying France?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're loving France. We're loving like the new lifestyle. Just, you know, like we went on a road trip yesterday on a Wednesday, and like it's been fun.
What's your biggest surprise?
Oh, what's our biggest surprise, Libby?
You know, that we're doing it, that we're paying the bills and working part-time, and yeah.
Yeah, it's slowly starting to sink in that we're here and this is like our long-term plan. For a while, it sort of felt like really short-term. We were almost on a vacation or something like that. Now it's slowly feeling like it's more of a permanent long-term thing.
And you decided to do the visa where you're getting some income, kind of like the still doing the travels that we ended up with?
Yeah. So basically we're on a long stay visa that we basically live off of our retirement stuff, but we're able to work a little bit from our businesses in the US. Yep.
We're not allowed to work in France for like a French company or earn French income, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly, there was like a debate about like the retirement visa versus the work visa. Is that not the case in the end?
Well, it's technically the same. It's the same visa. It just depends who you talk to and do they say, can you work not or can you? But we spoke to lawyers, like there's been lawyers who have said no. France set up this visa in the 90s and like digital nomad wasn't really a thing like it is in Spain and Portugal. And so we signed paperwork to say we will not, work in France. And a lot of people seem to think that means you aren't going to, be working and earning income. But France is more concerned that you're not having a job in France. They're not concerned about your U.S. income and your U.S. job. So because of our self-employment, then it's kind of this weird gray area, but it works, which is cool. So maybe they'll update it one day to make it more clear. But after chatting with a bunch of other people who have done it and that kind of thing, we were like, okay, I think this is the option that works for us.
Nice. And now you're still doing, I think, the travel business. Is that kind of
Yep.
And then are you doing tax planning or tax filing, or what'd you end up?
Yep, I'm still doing the tax prep thing. So it's been good. It was better this year than expected. And I think Libby's business was better than expected. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah.
So how much are you working? Are you like working like 10 hours a week, 40 hours a week? I mean, what's the life like?
I don't know. Well, I guess it did for me during tax season, it was a lot. And it was probably like, I don't know, 20 or 30 hours a week, maybe something like that, like for 2 months. And then now it's like 3, 5. I don't know. Not much at all.
Not much.
How about for you?
Yeah, I mean, mine's more as people are wanting to do their vacation, I'm planning it. So I would say 10 to 20 hours a week.
Is that enough for you two, or kind of like getting bored?
No, I mean, it's enough because actually when we have to come home and have like meetings at 6 p.m. because that's noon Eastern time and we're trying to figure it out, we're like, oh man, we got to go home and have meetings and work. We wanted to be out and exploring. So no, it's been good. The days where we don't have like scheduled meetings, we go out and do things. And the most amazing part about the time change is the whole US is asleep until about, I don't know, noon is 6 p.m. here Eastern time. So maybe around 3 p.m. our time, we might start getting emails from people. And then we're not actually doing phone calls or scheduled meetings until the evening our time, which is kind of more mid-afternoon their time. So it works out really great that we wake up in the morning, nobody's bothering us till midday, and we can go do things.
When did you actually make the final move?
December 14th, we got here.
Yep.
So you did it right before the world came to an end in the U.S. and all the politics and the market.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the market part has been interesting because, I mean, we kind of watched the US dollar versus the euro. And at one point it was getting really close. I think like 96 cents, which was great for us. And then it's tanked a little bit and then it goes up. And I feel like for us living abroad, that's one of the more things that we're tracking besides the stock market.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing. It's like, oh, it went up. Oh, it went down. But the dollar is like, our spending here and what rent would be, or if that kind of thing can definitely affect it, I think, depending on what our dollar is going to do.
Yeah. And then everything kind of going all crazy at the beginning of the year. That was probably like my biggest fear, right? Making this jump was like, well, what if the stock markets crash and everything goes bad right off the bat? Like that's going to be a really bad thing. And so basically my worst case scenario came true during that time period, but it did let me know like, all right, I'm okay. We have our income coming in. Am I okay with like how I'm invested, how much we have invested, like all of those kind of things. So I got to answer some of those questions for myself and what makes me feel comfortable and those kind of things.
Well, and I said that to a bunch of clients. Like if your plan worked when the market was down this year, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, like this is one of those like stress tests. But Andy, like I thought of you, like your mind, you must have been losing your mind.
I did pretty good. Yeah, I did pretty good. I mean, I've always been, maybe it's just the strategy of stick your head in the sand or don't pay attention. That's probably the best strategy of just do nothing. And that's what I did. I didn't do anything. We just stayed the course. We stayed what our plan was.
I think it helped that we're solely living off of our income that we're making right now, and we still aren't touching our retirement. So yes, it matters what it does, but it doesn't, and we can kind of ignore it and let it maybe come back, and we're not pulling from it. And I think then he would have been having a heart attack.
Then it would have been a little more scary if we were relying on that, but we weren't. I mean, that's kind of the backup is that money. So yeah, we're letting it grow.
So then I take it you're going to keep the jobs for a while.
Yep. I think we're going to continue. We're just kind of playing it by ear right now. I don't know if you remember, we had like our Dominican Republic place that we were going through. We ended up like that was almost the last thing you said to us was, what if you sold that or backed out on that? We went down that path. We pulled the plug on that. We got our money back from that. We've invested it for the most part, and we have some in a kind of an emergency savings account sort of thing. But yeah, other than that, we're kind of free and clear. We don't have to deal with that anymore. So yeah, it's kind of nice.
I think we were playing around with your system again, and I mean, Andy's safe number is like around 2 million. And so when we were playing around with that of like just not touching the money, still living off the income that we're bringing in right now, it was showing like 4 or 5 years till we hit that.
Hey, Child Free Wealth listeners, it's Bree. I highly encourage you to schedule a Child Free Wealth checkup. During this time, you're going to get a couple of forms to fill out that include your life and financial plan. We'll review them, and then we're going to have a meeting and go through them with you. We're going to give you some advice and things to work on and talk through things to make your finances simpler so your life can be amazing. You can schedule yours by going to our website, childfreewealth.com, and clicking the Schedule Now button.
Well, and this is that mental trick we were playing with. I mean, like Andy would have worked for another 3 years before doing this.
Yep.
But I take it you don't regret the choice you made.
No, not at all. Not at all. Right. I'm very, very happy that 2 Januaries ago, you said to me, well, what if I told you that in 6 months, I'm going to make you quit your job and do this? And you did. You made that happen. I'm very glad it did.
And you could see it. He literally laughed at me. But
well, we've rewatched our episode. Like every time you send it to us and say, oh, it came out, we'll sit down and watch it. And it's funny because we're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we were thinking about this. And even tonight at dinner before we met with you, we were just like, we would not be here if it wasn't for you. I think making Andy feel a little more comfortable, but showing us our numbers. And I know on the Facebook group that we're in, sometimes I give you shout outs and people think maybe you're forcing me to do that. And it's not, because we literally would not be here in this mindset if you hadn't have kind of showed us the file and our numbers and that kind of thing. I don't think you would have ever got to that conclusion on your own.
No, we wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the challenge is people look at they pick up The Simple Path to Wealth, or they pick up my book, they kind of read it. They're like, okay, I could do this stuff myself. Great. And they do fine with the investments, but it's that mindset stuff, that behavioral stuff, that life stuff that I don't know that you can do alone.
No. Yeah. It was actually pulling the trigger and making the move. And like quitting your job and going out and doing that stuff, that is by far like a very, very hard part. No matter how much money you have, like making that final step is difficult. But I don't regret one bit doing what we've done. It's been a great, great decision. Yeah, it's been amazing.
If somebody's listening and they're like debating this, which I have a lot of folks right now, like, well, I kind of have the money. I might be able to do it. But if I had some extra, I could. What advice do you give them?
You want to go first?
I don't know.
If I was to tell somebody that, it's a good question.
I mean, I think our mindset that made us do it in the end was just, we will never regret going down this path. But I think we would have regretted staying on the same path and just keep like doing what we were doing. Even if we had done this and we realized like maybe my business was tanking and he wasn't going to make as much money as he was going to make, we would have just went back to the US or figured out a plan and then worked full time and made it work again. And I don't think we still would have regretted the decision of just trying it to see if it can happen. So I don't know. I think if you're in a place to do it, just go for it and believe in yourself and the numbers and make it work because yeah, I mean, we're super happy. We're working way less hours than we ever were in the US and we have way less expenses.
And I think one thing maybe you could to tell yourself is that it doesn't necessarily have to be like, especially at our ages, right? Like we're around high 30s, 40 years old. And if we decided that we wanted to go back to work, we wanted to continue doing that kind of stuff, we could go back to the thing. But I'm glad we took the leap. We took a chance and we were going to see how this worked out. And after we've been here, 5 months, 6 months at the most, I couldn't imagine going back to the way it was before. Right. And maybe that wouldn't be everybody's thing, but at least we took the chance and to see how it went. And again, I just couldn't imagine going back to the way things were 6 months ago. I love what we're doing right now.
And I think some parts have been hard. Like the very first couple nights we got to France and we were like in our new apartment, I was going to bed at night and I was like, what did we do? Like we're actually in this other country and holy crap. And then I have moments too where I'm like, France is very bureaucratic. And so there's things that I'm just like, let's just like go back to the US. But I feel like the longer I was just telling Andy, I was on a vacation. He didn't join me because it wasn't vacation. It was a work trip. It was in Greece and I was there and the country's just so different than France. And I was texting him that I just realized the more that I've been in France, the more it's kind of starting to feel like home. And I'm like, but I like France better. And same as I'm starting to consider that over at the US too, where in the beginning I was kind of like, we should just go back to the US because this is better or whatever. And now I'm like, the other day we're eating like, I don't know, an eclair or something. And we're like, we can never go back to the US. This is so much better.
It's all about the food.
It's all about the food.
It is important. Yes.
You guys got an kind of back row seat to look at the United States of all the craziness we've had over this past 5 months ish. And I got so many people thinking it's better elsewhere. I mean, how does it look from the outside to look into the US now?
I mean, I think it's very interesting talking to Europeans about politics. I feel like they talk about it. They can talk to each other and to us and to other Americans or other Europeans, just like a neutral conversation, just like, hey, this is how it is. So I think for us being here, it's been really intriguing to talk to other Europeans, or we've talked to people in Britain about Brexit and what are their thoughts on it. And I mean, there's crazy stuff going on everywhere and there's reasons for it, but hearing their opinions are polar opposite of what we see of our friends or family and what people might think in the US or, thoughts going on of, I don't know, even like the Ukraine stuff, what Europeans think versus what Americans think. So I think it's just eye-opening moving abroad and listening to other opinions because, I don't know, in the US, I think it is more like media focused, and here, yes, there is media and it is really focused on that too, but it just seems to be different stories sometimes too. So it's just been like eye-opening, I guess, of how Americans think versus how Europeans are thinking about the same topics. And I don't know, I don't think we have too much to say about it. Like we've kind of, yes, it affects us because our money's still in the US and family and friends, but we try not to listen to watch media much. And we're kind of like, we're in France now and we follow a lot of European politics more. And I don't know.
And I would say that there's pros and cons to don't think that if you leave the United States and you come to any other country, that it's going to be perfect and that everything is great. There are so many like cons and bureaucratic stuff and frustrations that we've faced being here that would be very, very much easier for us in the United States.
Yeah.
And vice versa. There's pros and cons each place. Every country has its problems. And I mean, you just got to pick what you want to deal with.
We're learning here, like, I mean, being Americans, Canadian, I mean, the country is very consumer based and very like, I need this now. And in Europe, it's not like that. And it's been really interesting. Like our car broke down the one day and we had to get it repaired. It took 4 weeks, which would never have happened in the US. I don't think a car's ever taken that long. There was zero communication. They just said, when the part's in, we'll call you. And we kept emailing like, well, when is the part coming in? When it's in, we'll call you. Where in the US, you get, oh, I'm tracking it. It's going to be here in 2 weeks. We'll call you, all that. And same as, like our driver's license is a really good example. We're exchanging our driver's license. And I mean, every American usually, yes, the DMV in the States, no matter what state you are in, it sucks. It can take an hour to maybe a whole day of waiting in the line, even if you have an appointment to get your driver's license. But at the end of the day, you walk out with a driver's license. Here, we filled out the paperwork, we mailed it. It's going to take 6 to 8 months to get our driver's license, which is crazy for us. And it's really hard to get used to that kind of stuff. And so I think in that sense, we like the American version of like, we want it now kind of thing. And same as so many jobs, like there's not good apps here to find homes and rentals. So we're always like being, I guess, American and always that consumerish. We're like, we should develop an app. It would be great in France. Like it would just like help function for rentals and all that. And it's just differences like that are kind of hard for us to get used to.
Yeah. As much as we want to be retired or whatever, we're very driven people. And we've learned that like, being very driven, it seems to be like an American type of thing where you're very driven. You're looking for ways to make more money. You're looking for ways to improve things. Here, it seems to be a lot more laid back where it's like, all right, why do you need to work so much? Why do you need to do that thing? Just sit down, have a coffee, watch the world go by. Like that's just different mentalities.
And we've been trying to do that. Like even we got ice cream the other day and we were like, okay, let's go walk back to the apartment with it. And Andy's like, let's just sit and like do it the American or the European style and just sit and people watch and just relax. And it's like, oh yeah, you don't like we have to remind ourselves to do that because we're not used to that. Yeah.
Well, you've been there, I don't know, 5 months-ish, 6 months.
5, yeah.
Have you felt any difference in being child-free in France versus the US?
Hey, Child Free Wealth listeners, it's Bree. If you haven't already signed up for our newsletter, be sure to get on it, where each week we send out information regarding what's going on in the world of child-free life and finances. You can sign up by finding the link in our description.
No, not really. No, I mean,
not besides if we had children, we'd have to figure out a school for them. Right now we're moving every month, trying to check out a different region and then decide where we're going to rent long term. We couldn't do that if we have kids because they would have to be in school somewhere. And I think the language piece would probably be a little more important it is important, but if you have kids and they're going to have to go to school, I could see that being issues. Having to take them to the doctor for medical exams to get into school. So I can definitely see like those types of things would be things you would have to do.
There would be a lot more hurdles if you had kids.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's fair. And you threw something out there, like, so you're following that advice of just renting random places and seeing what you like. Is that kind of where you're at now?
Yeah, that's where, we've been doing Airbnb, staying at different places. Airbnb obviously gets more expensive, right? But we're doing monthly rentals. We're trying to find an area that we like more than others, and then possibly long-term rent or wherever we want to go from there.
So we're not looking at buying a house in France?
Possibly. I don't know. We're tossing those ideas around, but right now we're trying to figure out where we want to live, and we'd like to rent for a while before we even would consider that.
But again, because of bureaucracy, we can't get a realtor to get back to us. Oh, here's kind of a money issue that we have with rentals. We checked the box that we were retired, and Andy sent them our accounts, like showing how much we had in our account to prove that we can rent this place. You need 3 times the rent. They said the bank accounts wasn't good enough. They need a monthly pension check from our retirement. So then we said, okay, well, never mind. We actually have jobs. So let's just go that route. And they said, okay, then we need your monthly paychecks. We also don't have that because we're self-employed. Because we're so non-traditional, we haven't been able to get a rental yet because they won't accept, even though like my friend was saying, you could have, 6 figures in your bank account and they're not going to accept it. They want monthly checks. Andy just went the route of creating checks for us to kind of show, yes, here's all the payments we get throughout the month. And this is what it equals monthly. And we're going to see if they'll accept that. But yeah, so that's why we have kind of played around with, if a home popped up that we really, really loved in an area that we would want to buy, maybe we would do that eventually, because I don't know how we are going to rent an apartment at this point.
Yeah, I definitely learned how, like, one of the drawbacks of that financial independence thing is the world seems to revolve around having a paycheck every 2 weeks and having, all of those type of things. And then when you go down this or getting your social security check, all that, and if you do this early retirement thing and you have this financial independence side of things, you don't fit nicely into the box for everybody. And that can be difficult for rental companies and banks and all of those type of people. So you got to try to figure out workarounds for all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the workaround, by the way, is if you work with a CFP so they can write your letter instead of the bank accounts, often that helps. And B, you can set up, you take a cash fund, put your annual expenses in a cash fund, and set up a monthly scheduled transaction in between the two. It may look enough like a paycheck that they're okay with it. It sounds weird, but that's kind of like, you can have a letter from a financial planner or whatever the equivalent is in France. I have no clue what they use, and go, hey, they are getting $5,000 every month from their investments. Here are the last 3 months deposits. That will probably answer the question you need. It sounds stupid. It is stupid. It just is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to write a letter for one of my clients on that. And it was just like, here's how we do it. Here's how the money comes. I had to show them all the initials after my name. And they're like, oh, okay, we're good with it. I'm like, fine.
Yeah.
It's like you could potentially buy the condo, but you can't prove that you have enough money to rent it. It's just a weird concept.
Yeah.
It's actually the same in the US in many times when you don't have a standard income. You need a outside proof and they don't trust you.
Yeah.
So, okay, fine. Literally that like $5,000 a month coming out of another savings just looks enough like a paycheck. They're like, I can check the box and approve you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm like, fine.
Yeah.
But I will say I am a big fan of that, like living somewhere for a month or 2 or even 3 and then go to another place. And I'm still big fan of renting. I mean, it's just the housing market across the world is interesting. I mean, if you're buying cash, I could have that argument, but I don't know that you guys know where you'll be in 7 years.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we're down in the like French Alps area right now, and we really, really like it here, being able to go hiking, skiing, all the outdoors activities. So that's really where we're focusing on right now. But yeah, I mean, we don't know where we'll be in the future. So our goal right now is to find a nice rental somewhere. That's our immediate plan. Yeah.
All right. No regrets. We're going to keep working. Now, the other question people get is like, what am I going to do with my time? And have you had any issues kind of filling your time because you don't have a day job?
No, I've been doing stuff that I enjoy doing. I've been going, like today I went on like an 8 or 9 mile hike run. I mean, I did that for 2 hours and came back this morning, and we did a little road trip to a little town. I mean, especially being in a new country, like there are so many places and things for us to see. And then just like focusing on one of my big things doing this early retirement thing was like to focus more on my health and fitness and all those kind of things. And that's how I've been filling some of my time. I have not felt bored by any means.
We've been really busy. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like we're busier than we were before because we kind of have a routine of just like sleeping in and then making our food and then going on whatever adventure, like exploring a different areas, because the goal is kind of seeing all these different areas to narrow down what we like, what we don't like, and then coming home and dinner. And then that's usually when we work is from like 6 o'clock to midnight, depending how busy we are. Sometimes it's just a couple hours. When I was busier in the January, February, March, it was usually till midnight, just trying to catch people that were still awake midday in the US and stuff, and Europe for tax season too.
Yeah.
But yeah, now it's slowed down a little bit.
So I have a business idea for you two. Since we just did the file routine. Really, there's a good business to be like expat tourism. Like, I'm debating moving to France. Let me go hang out with Andy and Libbi and like experience France and learn from them and then go, do I want to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sound like us. We keep seeing different business opportunities.
So many
being
ideas.
Here. We're like, how come nobody's doing that? How come nobody's doing that?
Another great business idea is a pizza machine. They have pizza machines here where you go and you get to choose whatever pizza. And we're like, why don't they have this in the US, especially across all campuses? I mean, I feel like you would make millions, but the problem is the price. Here you can get an amazing pizza out of this machine. Like, it's good. I think it's homemade, but they just store it in there somehow and can bake it for you and it pops out and it's 12 euros. I feel like in the US, you probably have to charge at least 20, 25 and then.
And I'm joking about it because what happens is people like your brain starts working in a different direction. You're not like getting up each day and worrying about filling out this form or whatever you got to do for work. And you're seeing the world through a different set of eyes. I worry for myself in particular that I'd like get distracted and be like, oh, I'm going to start 6 more companies, which I already do anyway. I mean, in my day job, but I could just see that happening.
Yeah.
But I think that if that's what you enjoy doing, then that's perfectly fine. But you get to do it on your own terms at your own time, right? When I was in Hawaii and working, I had to get up at 5 a.m., whether I wanted to or not. I had to go walk to the bus and take the bus for an hour and go to work and work all day and take the bus home. I had to do that 4 or 5 days a week, and I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Now I have a choice whether I want to take on, 20 clients or 100 clients or whatever. I mean, I can decide what I want to do with my time, and that's genuinely made me a much like happier person. I'm so much happier now than I was 6 months ago, 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And not that my life was bad by any means before that. It's just I'm more well rested. I get to do what I want, when I want, on my own terms. Yeah.
It's hard getting people to understand that. So we always say, we're going to make your finances simple so your life can be amazing. And they're like, my life is pretty amazing. I mean, let's be real. You guys were living in Hawaii, had a pretty good life, doing your thing, and you like stepped it up a notch.
I mean, even like us being in Hawaii, and when you say that, it's really hard to tell people like, oh, I'm going to quit my job. We're going to move from Hawaii. We're going to go to France, to a different country, do that. People don't understand that. And we've just kind of had to accept that it's a different lifestyle. Like, it's a different choices that we've made that not everyone probably agrees with, but that's the path we've gone down. And yeah, I'm don't regret it one bit at all.
I think the only thing now that we do different is just our spending. Like, we're on a little bit tighter of a budget than not really, because we chose how much we want to make and how much we want to live off of and that kind of stuff. But I feel like when we were in Hawaii and we were making pretty good money, it was just kind of like, oh, if you want this, you could get it. Now it's like a little more self thought goes into it of like, do I need this or do I want to spend this on this instead, or that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And those are more like luxury purchases. Like when it comes to like the grocery store and all those kind of things, we get what we want when we want it. And yeah, we're on a budget, but we're also not on like a super strict kind of budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to sum this up. And, I've known you guys almost, I don't know, what is it, a year now? A little year and a half. What's the one advice you would give to anyone listening?
Okay. So for me, like the struggles that I had were all emotional struggles. Like I was emotionally tied to the money, to the job, to all of those type of things. And when we met with you, you're able to look at it from a non-emotional perspective and just look at the numbers. And you had told me, like, when we get to the end of this, you're going to have all these, these questions, you're going to have all these what ifs, and we're going to walk through each one of them. After walking through each one of those things, there was nothing for me to argue about at that time. The numbers are there, right? Don't argue with the numbers. Like, I'm the numbers person. So once the numbers were clear and in front of me, I can't argue with them. Like, that's how it is. And so then the next step was just taking that emotional leap to quit the job and move somewhere, could be anywhere, and start to go down this path. And after, it was scary. I'm not going to admit, I'm not going to lie. Like, it was a scary thing to make that jump. But after, 5-6 months of being here, like I've said before, I couldn't imagine going back to how it was before. So I think you just have to take the chance, give it some time. And if you want to go back to how things were a year from then most likely you probably can. It's not that big of a deal.
But yeah, everything you're saying, I feel like anybody who's listening to this needs to watch our episode 1 and 2, because those, I think, were the two most, that's where Jace first started throwing out these ideas and Andy first started having a heart attack. And seeing him in those first 2 episodes when we rewatch it, and then where we are now, like I was just laughing the whole episode and pulling out my hair like, I cannot believe that was us. So I think it's, if we can do it, anybody else can.
Hey, Child Free Wealth listeners, it's Bree. If you haven't already signed up for our newsletter, be sure to get on it, where each week we send out information regarding what's going on in the world of child-free life and finances. You can sign up by finding the link in our description.
That's fair. All right. Well, thank you very much. And you'll have to send me links, because we'll send links out to your travel business and the taxes. Hey, if anybody wants to, go hang out in France with you guys, who knows? Maybe you'll make some extra friends.
We can at least follow along with us on Facebook and those kind of things.
Yeah, we started a TikTok called the Roaming Rudes. That's where we post all of our fun kind of French content of just silly little things. Like the other day we ordered a pizza and it was telling us how large it was in centimeters, and Andy thought he knew how large it was. And then it came out and it was like, it was huge. And so I filmed him saying, so how large did you think this was? So just kind of life in France and Europe. And
miscalculated.
Yeah, we had a phone call the other day and I didn't want to answer it and he didn't want to, because we knew it was somebody in French and our French isn't that good. So we filmed things like that are just like, this is our life. And maybe it'll help people see like, it's not perfect and it is really hard to move to another country, but we're having fun.
Yeah. And we're always available. Like, we're open to answer questions. Like, if somebody is on the fence about doing something like that, I don't have any problem if we get reached out to and ask for some input on something.
But we're not going to convince you to stay home. We're going to convince you to file or fire and do whatever you want.
That's fair. Well, thank you very much. And we'll have to check back in a year or two and make sure it's still the same answers.
Okay,
yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a rating or review. We'd love to keep the conversation going. Please let us know your thoughts wherever comments are available, or email us at media@childfreewealth.com. To stay up to date, find and follow Child Free Wealth on social media. If you're interested in working with us, learn more by visiting our website, childfreewealth.com. We'll see you next time.